Again, thank you all so much. So at this time, we'll be moving on to our gun violence portion of our agenda. Again, you saw the negotiation there, so we had to go for some time. So we are going to just ask everybody to try to stick to their time limits here. And let's invite forward Pastor Marvin Gilliam and Angela Patterson. And Pastor Hodge, are you still here? Very good. Clap your hands as they come, all right? And then we're going to ask our guests to come forward also. Sarah Scarborough from Real Life. Sarah, come forward. Yeah, most likely you can just go ahead and have a seat in one of those chairs. And Deputy Chief Donald, and you with her with Real Life? Okay, go ahead. Okay, all right, Deputy Chief, come on forward, sir. All right. And Mark Farrow from the Attorney General's office, come on forward. All right, got enough seats? We got enough seats, all right, good. That's good.
Good evening. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine a mother and father's screams as they see their son's cold body being pulled out of a trash can. Imagine a dazed and confused 4-year-old girl whose developing mind can't make sense of why mommy, daddy, and Nana just won't wake up as they lie dead on the floor. Imagine a community hunkered down in their homes because day or night there is the looming threat of death by gun violence. Now envision a group of residents coming together, linked by a common faith in a safer city. They share these stories of worlds destroyed because of gun violence. They diligently research and find a proven solution that does not over-police, but finds the small percentage of people in any given community that are likely to be involved in gun violence and proactively intervenes to provide them with the resources that they need. Now imagine the mayor in this community refusing to give meaningful consideration to a community-offered proven solution to cut gun violence in half, yet the community still pushes and gets state and federal resources to implement this program at no cost to the city government. But the mayor still refuses to cooperate. This has been Risk's journey since 2019, when we gathered community members who were hurt by gun violence, researched and found a program called Group Violence Intervention that finds the small percentage of likely offenders in any given communities and gives them what they need to turn from a life of violence. But after being reelected in November of 2020, Mayor Stoney refused to listen to our cries and take steps that could have saved lives, even though it would be at no cost to taxpayers in our city. Yet our ally Real Life receives state and federal funding to do GVI here in Richmond. In Richmond, there is more than one person being shot every other day. And so we hope the mayor will find the humility and the courage to truly throw the whole kitchen sink at community violence and make group violence intervention part of his current gun violence prevention framework and have a meaningful path to increasing proactive interventions for the community that could help save many more lives right now. However, we come tonight with good news, because our efforts have not been in vain. Because we raised the alarm about gun violence and found GVI as a proven solution, other cities and localities around the state began to look at this program. And most recently, Hopewell reached out to Real Life to have them spearhead GVI there. Because of our collective voices and our persistence, Hopewell is doing group violence intervention. This is something for us to celebrate for sure. And now we want to take a moment to hear more about this victory. We'll have Dr. Sarah Scarborough come then Deputy Chief Reed from Hopewell to come, followed by Deputy Attorney General Mark Farrell.
Well, good evening. It is wonderful to be here with you tonight and feel this wonderful energy that you all have radiating. Real life, we traditionally have provided recovery housing in the city of Richmond. We are also one of the few recovery housing organizations that accept violent offenders, as my research and other research in the field shows that violent offenders are more amenable to rehabilitation. Thus, by default, we felt as if we were working to curb violence. But after talking to some business owners in the city and interested parties in the East End in 2020, we decided to open our community center on 25th Street in the city of Richmond, really thinking that this could help curb the desires or the dire issues of violence and drugs in that part in the community. We thought, we're here, we have wraparound services, we have everything that someone needs to overcome their previous issues and way of life. Well, I'm not ashamed to say that that was naive, and as you know, violence since 2020 has continued to rise. This is when real life really began searching what lowers violence. We know it's simply not arresting people, and we also know it's not opening a community center in a violent area of the community. This is when we came across RISC and learned about the efforts of GVI, or Group Violence Intervention. After finding out, we really dug in deep, trying to understand why RISC thought GVI was the solution. And through our research also showed that GVI is the best. It is the #1 program that evidence shows to lower gun violence in a community. That community can be big, small, urban, rural, it doesn't matter. It works if it is brought out in its fidelity, and also becomes a part of the locality's infrastructure. After understanding this, we applied for a few grants and were able to secure a few large ones in order to be able to execute GVI, after the frustrations continued to grow after seeing continued violence. We initially hoped to deliver GVI in the city, but to make a long story short, the city and the mayor's office is focusing on violence efforts in other ways. Due to this decision, we began discussion with Hopewell, and as they say, the rest is history. We're moving full steam ahead in Hopewell and are working very close with all of the government officials, including the deputy chief who is here, as well as the Attorney General's office and many others. In tandem with the National Network for Safe Communities, we have contracted with, they are the implementers of GVI. We're establishing infrastructure, developing boards, having problem analysis, have an awesome team, and we are ready. We look forward to kicking it off formally in Hopewell in June once all of that infrastructure development is done, and we thank RISC for y'all's research and diligence. I want to tell you it is heard, it is appreciated, and it's being implemented.
Good evening. How are you guys doing? First of all, I just want to thank RISC, and I think you've done a lot of clapping tonight, but we're going to do it again. So this is amazing. The support and dedication you guys got for the future of Richmond is truly impressive. So all of you. My name is Donnie Reed, and I'm the Deputy Chief of Police with the Hopewell Police Department. I do have two members of our team here tonight I do want to introduce. It's Captain Trevor Terry. And Lieutenant Jaquita Allen. And both are very important. They have very important roles as we proceed forward with group violence intervention through Operation Ceasefire. We are excited to share about our partnership with Real Life and the National Network of Safe Communities as we continue to implement group violence intervention through Operation Ceasefire. The city of Hopewell is no different than many cities across the country, to include Richmond. We are all seeing increases in violent crime, specifically gun violence. And we understand, specifically in Hopewell, but all over, that this is a public health crisis. It truly is, and I'll say that again. The violence that we are seeing is a public health crisis, and we need to treat it as such. Part Partnerships are key in the success of combating this crisis, and we intend to continue to further our relationships to strengthen those partnerships. Since early January, we began this process, and we've continued to work through the logistics of GVI, and we do have a goal of June 1st to be the implementation date for this, and we're excited about that. We are aware of the successes that come from GVI, and as an agency, we're eager to share that with our community. We are also hopeful that other communities will see the successes that we have, and hopefully invite this program into their communities as well. Having community members with credibility and experiences in the criminal justice system, delivering a message against violence to a small population that disrupts our city is important. It's important everywhere. It is also something that we are familiar with. Even before GVI, we've partnered with those community members that have had those experiences, people that we have arrested, and we've used that relationship to deliver messages to our community, and GVI's evidence-based strategies only furthers our efforts, and we're excited for that. If there's anything that I've learned and that we've learned through our careers is that we cannot do this as a law enforcement agency alone. The same goes for social services, code enforcement, and our mental health service providers. It's a collaborative effort, and it has to be a partnership. We appreciate the opportunity to briefly share and highlight what we're doing in the city of Hopewell, but thank you guys.
Thanks, Chief. My name is Mark Farrow. I'm the Director of Crime Reduction Initiatives for Attorney General Jason Yaris, and on behalf of him and myself, thank you. It's an honor to be here. We really appreciate it. The last time I was here was in 2005. It's been a long time. We were implementing pieces of GVI back then under a program called GRIP. And if you remember at the time, we had just come off 104 homicides, 94 that next year. And with the implementation of programs like this, we actually had David Kennedy come down and implement pieces of the program. We dropped down to 32 homicides. That was a tremendous increase. You know, when the Attorney General came on board, he asked me, you know, well, what do you think will work? And I had heard Pastor Don Coleman talking about, you know, GVI. And so we went before the Senate, we went before the House, and we said, hey, we need money for GVI. And we received money, and we were able to distribute some of that money through DCJS to the police departments across Virginia. And our hope was to start the first program of GVI here in Richmond. Looks like we're going to be starting it in Hopewell, but we're still hopeful that we will be able to start in Richmond very soon. And looking at this group of people, I mean, what an incredible message of hope, not only to me, but to you, Dr. Robinson. I see you out in the community doing the walks. I've heard you speak about the violence. It's something that we hold dear and that we know that we want to reduce, and we're going to do it, especially after seeing this. You know, I was thinking when I was sitting there about the violence and what an offense it is to God and to the people of this city, to our humanity and to, you know, our brothers and sisters and all of those that we lost. 1 minute already? Oh gosh. I can't tell you the good that GVI can do. You're going to hear a lot about Operation Ceasefire. Think of that as an umbrella because we are supporting law enforcement with equipment, with prosecution, with things that are more law enforcement and suppression related. GVI is about the community. It's about the community saying enough is enough and bringing all of our resources together, you know, in a way that it will actually change the hearts and minds of those small percentage of people committing the crimes. It gives them an honorable way out. We just did it in Norfolk. We called in 16 people came in, and they went back to the community and said, hey, look, they're looking at us for these crimes. You guys need to chill, relax, put down the gun, and, you know, let's make this work. It does work. We've hired 3 GVI coordinators with the office. We're committed to your city, to our city. You know, It is our city, and we're gonna make this work. So, thank you, and I just want to try this. I just want to try. Yes, we are committed to GVI. I learned that from you.
Thank you to our speakers for sharing with us tonight. Now, we must not give up. We must not give up. Not only because we have such broad support for our efforts, but because if we do, more and more stories about loved ones lost will be in vain. Now we'll hear from Angela Jefferson of Reliance Church RVA, who will now share how her life has been impacted by gun violence.
Good evening. Again, my name is Angela Jefferson, and I am with Reliance Church RVA, a new church in South Richmond, worshiping out of River City Middle School, and pastored by the Reverend Dr. William Eric Jackson, Sr. My family has been negatively impacted by the gun violence here in the city, and we as a community must do everything that we can do to encourage the mayor and the city officials to do something to stop it. In December 2020, my nephew Corey was tragically shot and killed on Broad Street. Now, some people may think that given his lifestyle, he brought his death on himself. As a teenager, my nephew became rebellious and stopped going to school and hung out with gangs. Even though as a family we tried to get him back on the straight and narrow, the streets and the drug game appealed to him. He became known as a drug dealer, getting in trouble and arrested several times. However, in his late 20s, after the birth of his second daughter, I sensed a change in him. He had decided to turn his life around and focus on his family and get away from the streets. But before he had a chance to really live the life he was striving for, he was targeted in a drive-by shooting. On the night of December 5th, as he was leaving the club, Corey and his friends were shot by several rivals from his past. As his friends were trying to get him down Broad Street to a hospital, he died from several gunshot wounds. It's a shame that just as he was trying to turn his life around and do the right thing, he was killed this way. I believe Corey would have been a perfect candidate for GBI. I believe that he had the potential to take advantage of the opportunities to change his life for the better. Just imagine if the GBI program had been put in place here in Richmond. I know and I feel that Corey would still be with us here today, and his murderer would not be in prison. Thank you.
The attorney's office is here. The money is available. People that can do GBI in our city are ready. They're here. But after the violence rose from 244 shootings in 2021 to 256 shootings in 2022, the mayor's not here. We can't clap for the mayor. He's not here. We can't celebrate mayor implementing one of the best proven methods for gun violence reduction in the country. We can't applaud him moving in that direction because he's not here. He won't meet with the community to talk about gun violence. While we were at city council last night, someone was shot. After we left council, 2 people were shot in the city. Before we came here today, a person arrived at MCV shot. In the span of 24 hours,
less than 24 hours, 4 people inside the city limits have been shot. I'm tired of people living in dilapidated homes. That's not acceptable. I'm tired of the epidemic of gun violence in our city. It's not acceptable. The mayor should be here. He had a press conference today. He was there. When the cameras are around, he's there. When the citizens show up, he's not here. He's not here. You have to ask yourself the question, how much does he care? I'm tired of doing films. I had to address 3 of my young people Sunday morning because they were wearing pins of a young man who was recently killed in our city. They're classmates. Do you want something done in the city? Are you tired of every night John Burkett at a crime scene? Are you tired? So we're excited that Hopewell saw what we were talking about, jumped on board, were reasonable, said that makes sense, that's logical, the money's available, the people that can do the programs are available. It makes sense to Hopewell. It's also making sense to communities around, other communities around Richmond. But why doesn't it make sense to Richmond? We continue to cry out for those who don't have any power. We continue to cry out for the families that are losing loved ones. I don't want to have to do another scholarship program for a young lady who lost their mother and father. Because our church has to do one now. I don't want to have to do and go to 2 murder-suicides in 6 months. I don't want to do it anymore. Do you want to do it anymore? No. Where's the mayor? Well, the mayor's only going to be in office for 20 more months. Clap for that. We're excited that Real Life is here. Give God some praise for Real Life. We're excited for our other supporters and other allies that want to do real solutions and not just solutions for the cameras. And not just solutions to say, I'm doing something. We want to see real solutions that bring real results. So beginning today, we'll be launching a campaign to get all future mayoral candidates on board with group violence intervention. And if they're not on board, they're not getting elected. At this Nehemiah action 2 years ago, what we're hoping for, 2 years from now, we'll have a real mayor that'll do real solutions for our city. During the summer, they had a program that said, real Richmond. You don't have real Richmond until you have a real gun violence intervention program. God bless you.